Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Jordan and welcome to today's video, which is another book of the month reading vlog, one of my favorite types of videos to film. And I'm especially excited for this one because I've got some book of the month books that are piling the heck up that I need to get caught up on. I've been really busy with a lot of ARCs lately on NetGalley, which I still have going forward, but I just want to put myself back into already published books that I can get audio versions of fairly easily and just get through some books. So let's talk about what I'm going to be reading. I've got 4 books in my lap right now. 2 of them are romance books and 2 of them I think are more literary mystery type books, so a good variety. The first one I've got is One Star Romance by Laura Hankin. I have not really heard many people talk about this book. I think it's a debut author and the synopsis just sounded interesting to me when I read it on Book of the Month's website, and here in the front flap it says, a struggling writer is forced to walk down the aisle at her best friend's wedding with the man who gave her book a very public 1-star rating in this fresh romantic comedy. I think that sounds fun and cute. Honestly, my life has been extremely hectic and stressful lately, so I am excited for this to hopefully just be a light, breezy, fun rom-com. I have already started this book on audio. I'm only a little bit into it, but it definitely is reading quickly and easily. I'm excited about the wedding vibes. I'm excited about the main character being an author and talking about her writing experiences, and I do think that 1-star situation is a funny trope to kick off this rom-com. So probably will have my final update for this book first after I get through it, but very excited for it. And then the other romance that I have, I'm also very excited for. It's Not in Love by Allie Hazelwood. Allie Hazelwood, very popular author. She has written a bunch of STEM contemporary romances, which I personally have loved. She also recently has branched into like paranormal romance with Bride, which I didn't read. I don't think that's my thing. So I'm gonna leave that one unread, but I do think I've seen a lot of people enjoy it. I'm sorry, I am kind of sick right now, so I can feel myself getting congested as I'm talking. Apologies. But anyway, I do think this book has like the STEM elements to it, but I have heard that the vibe of this book is very different from her previous books. And I think I'm setting my expectations correctly, and that's going to be necessary to enjoy this book. I think it's going to be less like fun and bantery and more angsty and a lot more smutty. Pretty sure that's what I've heard. So again, I'm going to try to set those expectations in my mind once I do pick this up and make sure that I'm judging it against that criteria and not expecting it to be the same as her previous STEM romances. I'm not quite sure if that sounds like something I'm really going to enjoy. Angsty and smutty are not typically my first buzzwords I look for in picking up romances, but again, I do love Allie Hazelwood, so maybe she can write those things in a way that I end up loving. So we will see. Then getting into the mystery books, we've got yet another one that I'm very excited for. Obviously, I'm excited for all of these, but The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. This is a very buzzy book right now. I'm seeing a lot of people pick it up. This is a mystery set at a summer camp, and a teenager who's attending this summer camp goes missing from her bunk, and then I think it's about all the other characters going through the aftermath of that. I think it has to do with secrets. I've heard there's a lot of family dynamics in this book. I've just seen a lot of really good reviews, and I have read from and enjoyed Liz Moore in the past, so I think I'm gonna like the writing, and I really think I'm going to like the summer camp setting. It's gonna be perfect to read in summer. I did bring this on a recent family camping trip of mine, and I tried to read it. I only got to page 9, so not far at all. I'm probably going to restart it because now it's even been a couple of weeks since then. The first 8 pages I was enjoying. I just didn't have a lot of time to read like I thought I might. And then last but not least, a similar vibe, a book that I've seen similarly rave reviews for lately. It is All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. This book is not one I would have picked up based on the cover, based on the author, based on the length, or based on the synopsis. But I have seen some people that I really trust just give this such amazing reviews that I knew I had to read it. So I picked it up through Book of the Month. I don't really know much about it other than it says it is a soaring thriller and an epic love story that spans decades. It looks like it starts in 1975, and then lots of different character family dynamics, a missing person mystery, a serial killer thriller, a love story, a unique twist on each. All the Colors of the Dark is about what lurks in the shadows of obsession and the blinding light of hope. I don't know, guys. I'm just really intrigued to see how I enjoy this book. I hope I can put myself in the mental brain space to concentrate enough on this book to let myself just get fully invested for the, oh, what is it, almost 600 pages that this book is. Who knows how long it'll take, but I hope it's worth it. I'm gonna give it a try at least. And yeah, those are the 4 books I'm planning to for sure read for this video. I do actually have 3 more Book of the Month books on their way to me right now that I just ordered from their August selections, but I think I will just save those for the next Book of the Month vlog so that this video doesn't get too long. 4 is much more manageable, especially given how long a couple of these 4 books are. So that's the plan. I'm gonna read these as quickly as I can. I'll let you know my thoughts as I get through them. This is the first day I'm feeling congested and sick, so fingers crossed that sickness doesn't get worse or spread too far through my household to my kids. It probably will, but that's life. All right, I think that's all I have for the intro. So I'm gonna get reading. I'm gonna get on with my workday. I will check in once I've got more of a substantial reading update for you, probably once I am at least halfway through One Star Romance. Depending on how many thoughts I have, I might just wait till I'm all the way done with it, but I'll let you know and I'll talk to you soon. Alrighty, friends, I have some updates actually on 2 books. I'm halfway through both, so I thought I should check in and let you know what they're all about. So the first one I mentioned I would be starting with. I have started the audio of One Star Romance, and I'm actually right around exactly halfway. This is honestly just as fun and cute as I was hoping it would be. It is about these 2 characters who are the best friends of this other couple who is getting married. And the way the book is set up, we actually get them over a number of years. So first, part 1 is set in May of 2013. It's the first time that these 2 main characters meet each other. They both get invited to a birthday party for the best friend of the female main character, and also there is this best friend of the boyfriend of the other friend. Wow, I'm so bad at this. And then their best friends get engaged at that party. So then we know that that's what kind of sets off the trajectory of this couple seeing each other every so often. So May of 2013, the best friends get engaged. Then part 2 is May of 2015, so 2 years later, it's the wedding. And this is a little bit bulkier of a part. And what's interesting about part 2 is this is when it sets off like the enemies to lover sort of situation, because in part 1 they just meet each other, they get along fine, but then they move on with their lives. And in part 1, the main character reveals to the male main character that she wants to become a novelist, that she's been writing, and yeah, that's a big goal of hers. So what's interesting is in part 2 is once she's actually met that goal, she has published her book, things are going well, she's excited about it, and this is when she finds out that he has read her book and rated it 1 star. And she finds it out in a way that she doesn't immediately reveal to him that she knows he's the one who wrote the review. So there's a little bit of like one-sided animosity there. But yeah, basically they go through wedding weekend and they put aside their differences because they need to be there for their best friends. It's also a little bit interesting because it seems like I'm getting some vibes that this female main character is not totally on board with her best friend's marriage situation. I'm not sure what's going to come of that, if there's going to be like marriage struggles between them in the future. But you know, part 2 is full of wedding shenanigans. Both of these main characters end up giving a toast at the wedding, so that's fun and kind of competitive between them. And then I just relatively recently made it to part 3, which is September 2016. So a year and a half later, and now again both main characters are being invited to like a party or a weekend at the lake to again celebrate their best friends, their mutual best friends. And now they're coming into this weekend with some real dual-sided animosity towards each other. So yeah, it's entertaining enough overall. The audiobook is actually narrated by the author, which I thought was fun. I think she is doing a good job. I'm generally enjoying the audiobook, so that is how I will listen to the rest of the book. We'll see if anything else comes out within the book in terms of like emotional connection, or if it's just this fun bantery light romance the whole time. I don't know, I'll let you know, but so far so good. And then the other book that I've started is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. I started this one physically because I knew it was going to take me a while. I don't have an audiobook of it immediately available to me, so while it's the weekend, I thought I would just go ahead and dive into this whenever I have physical reading time and save the audiobook for whenever I have audiobook time. And I have made it actually quite a decent way into this book. I am on page 288, so I'm well over halfway and I am well into this story. This is a mystery, and it primarily follows the mystery of a young girl who is going to this summer camp. Interestingly, her parents actually own the summer camp, and one night she disappears out of her bunk. But also there are some tangential mysteries also happening, one being that girl who disappeared several years earlier, her brother actually disappeared on the camp's premises, and he was declared dead when he was 8 years old. So really the solving of both of those mysteries are kind of top of mind. Plus there are just a whole bunch of other characters involved in this whole story that also have situations and things that we're trying to get to the bottom of. I am really enjoying this book. I don't think it's going to be for everybody. I can definitely see or foresee people thinking it's boring and that it's super long for no reason if they're not fully immersed in it and invested in the mystery. I'm glad to say that I am, and I do think it helps that I went in with some preconceived pretty positive notions. I've seen reviews and things that tell me that this book is going to be well worth the mental investment of it, but it's definitely not fast-paced and it's definitely not easy reading. You do have to pay attention, but it's not confusing, nor have I been bored at any point in this book. It does jump through quite a few different time periods. It kind of writes out all of the time options here at the start of every chapter and then bolds which one you're in. That does help you keep you kind of oriented because you can see there's a finite number of timelines and time periods you're having to keep straight. But it spans from the 1950s to 1961 to winter of 1973 to June of 1975 to July of 1975 to August of 1975. And the summer of 1975 is when that main girl is going missing. And the perspectives we're getting, they are a wide range. We're getting one of the bunkmates of that girl who disappeared. We're getting the mother of the girl who disappeared, who also her son was the one who went missing and was declared dead. We're getting detective points of view. Let's see, who else am I missing? Those are the primary ones. And like I said, we kind of get each of them at all different times. And I really at this point have no predictions. I have no hopes or anything. I just am along for the ride. I really am hoping for a satisfying conclusion here. I will also say that obviously I just told you all of the timelines that are being followed here. So from the 1950s to the mid 1970s. So it is a little bit historical feeling. I luckily also really enjoy historical fiction. So for me, it's no issue at all. But I do think people who are not fans of historical fiction will also probably have reasons to not love this book as much as a lot of the hype I've been seeing. So yeah, I really think I'm predisposed to enjoy this book, and I hope that continues through the end. I hope I can get through the rest of it as quickly as I have gone through the first over half, and I'll let you know when I do. So the next time I come back to you, I should hopefully have finished both of these books and can give you my final thoughts on both of them, and then soon after that I will make my way into the other two books for this video. Alrighty, I've got some updates for you. I have finished both of the books that I started that I said I would tell you about. So let's review, first of all, One Star Romance. This one is an interesting one. It wasn't quite what I was expecting going into this book. I really expected it to be just 100% light and fluffy, really bantery, and a true rom-com, whereas I feel like it actually came off as a lot more contemporary and a lot more focused on the main character. A little bit both of the main characters, but the main character, we follow her over a long period of time. This book continues to do those time jumps where 1 to 2 to 3 years passes in between interactions between these two main characters. And while there is a clear attraction, and they do have the one-star rivalry thing that binds them together and spans all of those connection points, otherwise they're just living their lives separately. and it takes a long time for the actual romance to come into play. It also has a lot to do with this main character's friendship with her female best friend. That was definitely an interesting and important dynamic of this book. It reminded me a little bit of Rebecca Searle's books, at least I think the two that I've read, especially in 5 Years, where it's a lot more focused on the female friendship than the romantic relationship until much farther into the book. Also, the last thing I'll say is that this book did include a lot of growth within this main character and between these characters, which I appreciate. With the format of how the book is told, a lot of time passes, so I think that that's reasonable to assume and expect that these characters would change quite a bit over that amount of time. And especially I think this main character takes a lot of accountability, or at least some accountability, for some things that she does earlier on in the book that are a little bit hard to justify or understand her actions of. So I appreciated that. Overall, it's a 3-star book for me. As I got past the halfway point, I definitely got to be like, all right, let's wrap this up. I don't know that I need to do that many more time jumps. Let's just get to when they ultimately get together. But again, I do think it did some things different from other rom-coms that I've read. So if the premise sounds interesting to you, and if any of those specific points or features of the book sound particularly intriguing to you, then I wouldn't hesitate to recommend it. But it probably won't stick with me for a long amount of time or anything. So 3 stars. Then I also finished The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. I did listen to a bit of this on audio through Spotify whenever I had time, but the bulk of it I read physically. I want so bad for this to be a 5-star book. I've seen so many 5-star reviews for this book, and I get it. I really, really enjoyed this book. For how long it is, for how many characters there are, and for how many different relationships and mysteries you're trying to keep straight in this book, Liz Moore did such a good job of keeping it not confusing and also entertaining, to where I was never bored reading this book. And that is such a testament, especially in this time period I'm in right now where my life is chaotic. I'm finding it hard to focus on things. I did not at all find it hard to focus on this book or to remember where I was and who all of the characters were, which I respect so much. And ultimately, I really enjoyed where the mystery went. Again, really, there are 2 main mysteries. 2 people who have gone missing within this family. We are solving both of their disappearances, what happened to them. Plus, of course, we're getting reveals about other characters along the way. And it all came together in a very satisfying way. I don't know what I'm missing for it to be a full 5 stars. I feel like this is also how I felt about Liz Moore's other book, Long Bright River. I think I also gave that one 4 stars, and I also really enjoyed it and really respect it. There's just something holding me back from 5 stars. I don't know, and maybe in this one I was just expecting something at the end to really punch, whether it was like a completely out of left field twist or something super emotional. There definitely was emotion in here, but I don't know, something in me is holding back from giving it 5 stars, but I still really enjoyed it. This is probably the book that I've enjoyed the most recently, especially fiction book. I haven't had a 5-star fiction book in so long, so I'm at least glad that I really enjoyed this one. I just wish I could give it 5 stars, but I can't. I don't know why. It's 4 stars. I do highly recommend it if the premise and the setting sounds interesting to you. If you have read and enjoyed Liz Moore before, I think you will have no problem picking this up and enjoying this one as well. I don't know, man, maybe I will retroactively bump it up to 5 stars down the road. I do think this is gonna be a book that does stick with me for a while and that I can pretty easily remember a lot of the details on. And maybe I just need to go seek out more reviews or something of people who love this book to hear them rave about it so that I get more on board. I feel like it's almost an objective 5 star. It's just not a subjective 5 star. And like, I don't feel, I don't know, it's just missing that 5-star feeling. You know what I mean? But I am still happy with 4 stars. So with that, I actually also have one more update because I have started Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood and I've actually gotten 61% into it. And I think I'm gonna DNF it. I'm pretty confident this is just not a book for me. I have loved Ali Hazelwood's books in the past. I really love her STEM contemporary romances, and she makes a very clear point in the beginning of this book that this is not that. Let me just read you the reader's note so you can also hear her words about what it is. She says, "Dear reader, I just wanted to drop a quick note to let you know that Not in Love is tonally a little different from the works I've published in the past. Rue and Eli have dealt with and still deal with the fallout from issues such as grief, food insecurity, and child neglect. They are eager to make a connection but are not sure how to go about it except through a physical relationship. The result is, I think, less of a rom-com and more of an erotic romance. Rue and Eli's story has, of course, a happily ever after, but it also contains some serious themes, and I wanted to give you a heads up so you know what to expect. Love, Allie." I appreciate that she writes that at the beginning of this book, and I think that it leaves room for no excuses from her readers to say they don't enjoy this book because it's so different from her other books. I was hoping that I would still enjoy it because she said it has more of a serious tone. I was hoping that meant more of an emotional tone, but I don't think that's the case. It actually is more like a dark romance, serious tone, in that these characters kind of take out some of their, I don't know, aggression and feelings on each other in the bedroom in pretty explicit ways. And she says this is more of an erotic romance. So I was kind of skeptical about that, and I wanted to feel out for myself what exactly that meant, because I can handle explicit scenes, but some things within like the BDSM realm, I just don't prefer to read about. And there's some of that in here. And even not in the bedroom, when they say things to each other like, you can do this, this, and this if you behave yourself, or like kind of threatening each other in like a sexual way. That is the vibe of this book. So I would actually more closely relate it to the Twisted Love series by Anna Huang, which I only read like 1.5 books of. I figured out that was very much not for me, and yet lots of people love it. So I think it's a good recommendation to make if you do like that series. This is much more in that vein. And especially now that I'm 61% of the way in, I think I've gotten a good idea of what it is, and I can acknowledge that it's not for me. I don't have to put myself through reading the rest of it when I'm not going to enjoy it. There's no STEM banter in here. There's a little bit of workplace dynamics and like business talk, because the male main character is in the process of trying to purchase or acquire the company that the female main character works at. I would much rather read science talk than business talk, so that also doesn't really do much for me. But what was I saying? Yeah, there's just not much in here that I enjoy or that reminds me of Allie Hazelwood's other books, and that's okay. I think it's great when authors explore writing in multiple genres. I think it's unfair of readers to expect to enjoy a book in another genre by an author that they've enjoyed their previous genre, if that makes sense, or subgenre, even if you're still talking about contemporary romance. It's a different vibe. She knows it. She did it on purpose. I now know it. I can acknowledge it. Now I don't have to like give it a bad rating. I can just express who I would recommend it to, and that is good enough for me. So with that, that means I'm down to my final book for this video. Again, another chunky one. I'm really excited and hoping I enjoy it as much as or more than The God of the Woods. I'm hoping the same trend continues where I actually can really latch onto this book and focus on it and be satisfied by a slower, more in-depth, complicated story. I'm looking forward to it. So I am ready to start this one. I'm gonna try to find an audiobook of it somewhere, and I'll be back maybe once I've gotten a little bit of a ways into it, because it is so long. It probably will be helpful to do at least one midway update. So I will plan to do that. I'll be back once I have started it, can give you the synopsis, and we'll see how it goes. Alrighty, update time about All the Colors in the Dark. All the Colors of the Dark, which I have started. I'm on chapter 90, which is page 218, a little less than halfway. Actually, it's exactly 37% of the way through. So not really close to halfway when you're talking about a book this big, but I suppose I am far enough along to tell you the basic premise of this book. And side note, yes, I'm on chapter 90, so the chapters are extremely short. Most of them are like one, I don't know, page span, and like some even less than that. Like that's 2 chapters. Each of them are a page. So super short chapters, which does help make the pace of the book feel a little bit faster, but overall it's not a super fast-paced book. So the premise of this mainly follows our main character named Patch, who is a boy who I'm not even exactly sure exactly how old he is. He could be as young as like preteen age into like early high school at the start of this book, but he lives in this small town in Montclair, Missouri. And in this small town, girls are going missing. And Patch decides to go after one of the girls I don't know, he gets this inkling, he wants to go find one of the girls that goes missing. Also notable about Patch is his name is Patch, or his nickname is Patch, because one of his eyes, I don't even remember what happened to it. It doesn't work, it's injured, so he wears an eye patch. So everyone calls him Patch. He goes looking for this missing girl from his hometown. He ends up finding the guy who's kidnapping these girls. He ends up being captured himself, and then eventually things happen to where he gets free and the girls get free. And that all happens within the first like 20% of this book. And then what happens for the rest of the book is we see Patch and some other characters dealing with the aftermath of this event. And there's a few things at play. One is that the guy who was kidnapping all these girls was never found. There was kind of an accident, so some people think he might have died in the accident. Other people think he definitely escaped and is out there somewhere. So that's one kind of lingering mystery that at this point we haven't really dug into more, but I think is going to come back into play. Two is that the girl that he saved is kind of obsessed with him now. She comes from like a really wealthy family. He comes from more of a poor background, and now she kind of feels indebted to him for saving her life. So that's an interesting dynamic. And then there's another girl in the town who Patch was best friends with before this event happened. And when Patch went looking and then went missing, this girl became obsessive about finding Patch, and she actually played a really big part in why this whole thing blew up and these girls going free. So she kind of saved Patch, but now their relationship is not the same. Ever since Patch has come back, she feels like she's losing him as a friend, as everything. And then the third interesting thing that's happening is that Patch, when he was captured by this guy, he was kept in like darkness and isolation with one other girl who he didn't know previously. He calls her Grace, and they became really close and attached. And then when everything happened and they escaped, he has not seen her since. And again, he doesn't know what happened to her. He doesn't know if she's still alive or if she died. And ultimately, people are expressing doubts to him about whether that girl even existed, because they can't find a firm record of who that girl was. So now he's become kind of obsessive about finding this girl, proving that she existed, but also finding him because he made that connection to her. So a lot of moving parts, a lot of characters involved, and this book is just very melancholy feeling. I can objectively say a lot has happened in the 200-ish pages that I've read, but none of it has felt fast-paced. And what I know is going to happen for the rest of the duration of this book is a lot of time is going to continue passing. We've already had one time jump of about 3 years, I think. And from the synopsis and the way people talk about this book, it sounds like it ends up spanning decades. So I know I'm going to be spending a lot more time with these characters, and I'm not super excited, to be honest, about it. I do care about the characters, and especially Patch, I think, is a very intriguing main character. I care about him. I want him to find this girl. I want him to have success and happiness in his life. But something about just the slow pace and the tone of this book is not making me excited to keep reading it. So for now, I am going to continue on. I can see a world where I get to like the 50% mark and decide not to continue it, or any point thereafter, because it is so big. It still feels like such an investment of time is ahead of me. And if I just get less connected and less invested, I do think I would be willing to DNF this book. But at the same time, I could also see things turning around and potentially some things happening that get me re-engaged. So who knows? I'm holding out hope because I've seen such great reviews, but I also know that there are plenty of books in this vein that I don't connect with that get rave reviews.
kind of along the like Sally Rooney or like Ask Again Yes, Mary Beth Keane type of book, where it's more literary and again an emphasis on characters over a really long period of time. That does not typically work for me, even along the lines of like Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which this is super different from. So I'm not going to make that recommendation, but I am going to say that I had that experience where I didn't love that book as much as a lot of other people. Again, I can see a world where I don't connect with this book, but that's not because it's not a worthy book of all the praise and hype it's getting. It just means it's not for me. And I think if I continue to get that feeling, I will not feel bad about DNFing it. At least I gave it a chance, but we're not there yet. So we'll see. I'm going to continue reading it. I guess I will be back either once I finish it or make the decision to DNF it. I'll be back with a final update either way, and we'll go ahead and wrap up this video at that point. Alrighty friends, I've got an update on All the Colors of the Dark, and it is not a true final update because I'm not going to finish this book. I got to chapter 118, page 299, and so I'm about halfway. I'm not gonna finish it. I've gone through 2 more time jumps in this story, and overall it's just been more of the same, of just very slow, very character focused. I don't hate the characters, I just don't really care where the book is going. And the thought of pushing through another 300 pages of this book just sounds terrible. And so I know when I get to that point in reading a book, it's time to DNF it. It doesn't matter how high of an average rating this book has. It doesn't matter how much Jenna from Read with Jenna has raved about this book as her book club pick. I just don't think it's the type of book that I enjoy. So once again, I am listening to that and I'm not going to push myself through it. So kind of a mixed bag here. When it comes to all of the books that I read for this video, we had a 3-star, which was fine. We had a 4-star, which I did enjoy. I didn't quite love as much as I was hoping, but I'm still at least glad that I read this one in this video. It is a book that I will go on recommending and be excited to hear people talk about. And then we had 2 DNFs for similar reasons, even though they're very dissimilar books, just not for me. And I'm in a time in my life right now where I need to prioritize only doing things that truly make me happy, bring me joy, give me satisfaction. As evidenced by my lack of videos recently, I just don't have a lot of time to dedicate to reading or making videos lately. So if I can relieve that stress by not pushing through books that I just know are not for me, then that's fine. And again, hopefully I've said enough to put these books in front of somebody's eyes that does think they are for them. This one is giving me similar vibes to The Shards by, is it Bret Easton Ellis? I can't remember, but when that book came out, I really wanted to push myself through it. It was another long, chunky, slow mystery that was getting great reviews, and I put it down. It wasn't for me, and I have never regretted that decision. So I'm gonna do the same here. And I guess maybe if you enjoyed that book, you might enjoy this one. I don't know if that's a good true comparison or recommendation as someone who didn't finish either of them, but I'm good with this decision, even though it's somewhat unsatisfying to have DNF'd 2 of the 4 books in this video. We're going with it. On to bigger and better things, or smaller and better things. Let me know if you have read any of the books that I talked about in this video and what your thoughts were. Let me know if we agree or disagree on any of them, or if you haven't read them, let me know if I convinced you to pick any of them up or the opposite, especially for the ones I DNF'd. Maybe I can help you not waste your time, or again, maybe I introduced you to your new favorite book because you like things that I don't. That happens all the time. All right, other than that, I don't think I have anything else. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one.